Good morning, everyone. My name is Sherwin Santos, and I am the reporter of Geography and Farming. By the way, let me introduce to you my report. It's about the relationship or exploration between geography and farming. Our objectives will be at the end of this module, the learner is able to explore and understand the relationship of farming and geography. Learners were able to compare and contrast farming methods and practices from key locations across the globe, and they are able to analyze the nature and significance of farming and how it evolves over time, and especially they must be able to know how human activities affect farming and how beneficial farming to people is. But first, let me introduce to you what is geography. Geography is the study of places and the relationships between people and their environment. They also examine how human culture interacts with the natural environment and the way that location and places can be have an impact as a people. Geography seeks to understand where things are found, why they are there, and how they develop and change over time. And how about farming? Farming is the act or process of working the ground, planting seeds, and growing edible plants. You can also describe raising animals for milk or meat and farming. It includes the preparation of plants and animals, products for people to use and their distribution to markets. Farming is a great way to describe the lifestyle and work of people whose job are into agriculture industry. People often have a romantic idea of what farming is. Roosters crowing, farmers driving tractors, and milking goats. Although farming can be the very hardest work, dependent on food, prices, and weather. It's also called as agriculture industry. Relationship of farming and geography. Geography can help agriculture by showing the location of the farm or the source of product to its market and what may be the best way for getting product to market. It can help to show where the most and least profitable markets are located. Some agricultural areas are better or less suited to certain kinds of agriculture. And geography as a fact of life, are you are using it is the composite of the conditions that exist at a given location. If you are aware of the geography of the location, then you can understand what sort of crops will grow there and how they need to be farmed. Traditional agricultural geography. It focuses on spatial patterns and varying agricultural systems, particularly from a basis or from economic geography and or land use. As time has gone on, some connections have been mostly via human environment perspectives on natural resources, sustainability, health, and food systems. Different land areas are better for agriculture. For some examples, growing grapes, vines in best done in a warmer climate, in a valley, just like that. By studying geography, agriculturalists can determine what area are more investing in to get food or money back. Ecosystem, especially agro ecosystem, is different in every region, and geography can locate where is it. Now, we are about to discuss the history of farming. Agriculture has been a credible of evolutionary change ever since it's occurred, and there are many allied sectors of agriculture like horticulture, silviculture, poultry, dairy, and fisheries. They have a very important role in the development of the rural masses. So there is a need for the balanced development of agriculture and allied sector. First, the Stone Age. For most of history, humans have been hunters gatherers, adopting a more nomadic lifestyle. So we move with the changing seasons. We move with the livestock migration patterns, and we are much more adaptable to climate impacted the crops and the surrounding environment. We embrace um, being into nothing. No technology, no machineries to be used. The other one is Neolithic Age or Neolithic Revolution. The first true shift in agriculture came nearly 12,000 years ago at the start of Neolithic Revolution. It is also known as Agricultural Revolution, which marks the first instances of a more permanent and settled lifestyle. Humans found a practical long-term solution for food in the Fertile Crescent, as area located across that is now the Middle East, with ready access to major bodies of water such as the Mediterranean Sea. Human began cultivating plants, domesticating animals, and we have to plant domesticated crops like wheat, barley, peas, flax, livestock, breeding domesticated animals like pigs from wild boars, goats from Persian ibex, and the sheep and cows commonly found on today's farm. And here we go to the medieval age. For centuries, very little change a settled life where access to high quality land and domesticated animals didn't lend itself to transition. Then we came to Middle Age, a period marked by selective crossbreeding of animals and plants for optimal quality, and a technique known as ridge and furrow farming, plowing techniques employing oxen that inspired similarly method that we are using today. And around 16th century, here comes the development of crop rotation, or the growing and harvesting of different crops on the same land during different seasons in the 16th century drove the modernization of farming practices. Um, Again, what is crop rotation? Crop rotation is the practice of planting different crops sequentially on the same plot of land to improve soil health, optimize nutrients in the soil, and combat pest and weed pressure. For example, say a farmer has planted a field of corn. It has a very or it has something artistic when it comes to the arrangement of crops. And begun the 18th century, it was also known as the Industrial Revolution, in which we now have the factories. And in the 18th century, it really took humans from the past into the present. Why? Because with crops that required fewer workers, better soil and replenishment, and improved livestock care, more people could work in urban industries as a result of agricultural productivity. Industrial revolution in modern history begins the process of change from an agrarian and handicraft economy to one dominated by industry and machine manufacturing. The process began in Britain in the 18th century, and from there to the spread of other parts in the world. That's begun the global change. And now, in the 20th century, this 20th century introduced widespread use of machineries, and just like tractors and large company or industrial machines that they are using as of now, and fertilizer and pesticide, which coincided with huge population growth. As a result, we are now able to produce food in large or mass production, and it became affordable and accessible to people. And the one who we are engaging today, the modern agriculture, today we find ourselves at yet another turning point in which we must balance sustainability and increase food production for the 9.6 billion people expecting in the near 2050. That's right. And here we go. We have to discuss the importance of farming and agriculture industry. Farming and agriculture industry is production plants where the free gifts of nature such as land, water, air, soil, energy, etc. That's why we that's why here we integrate geography and farming because geography tackle or tackles about the land, water, air, soil, energy, and here in farming, land, water, air, and soil are the major materials for farmers to build or product uh, foods or agricultural products, just like milk, meat, egg, wool, honey, silk, etc. etc. It provides employment. Agriculture has the contribution of 16% in the gross domestic product, and it includes large economic growth. And the agricultural sector has provides livelihood to or to two or two-thirds of the population and to the agricultural sector. It is responsible for the employment of 58% of the country's workforce. The other one is it is helpful for economic growth. This sector accounts for about 15% of the total export earnings and provides raw materials to almost all the industries, just like textile production, silk, rice, rubber papers, flour, meals, milk, and dairy products. The third one is the source of profit and food. As the people in rural areas are not very rich, it proves as one of the biggest market for low price consumers. And if the agricultural sector of the country is strong, it acts as a wall in maintaining food security and in the process of national security, as well as the important allied sector. Agriculture is one of the most important allied sector. There are many allied sector of agriculture, but agriculture like horticulture, silviculture, poultry, dairy, and fisheries, they are playing very important role in farming. Okay, here we go. The human activities affecting farming, agriculture industry. The first one is deforestation. But first, let me define you what is deforestation. Deforestation is it refers to the decrease in forest areas across the world that are lost for other uses such as the agricultural croplands, urbanization, and or mining activities, greatly accelerated by human activities since 1960. Deforestation has been negatively affecting natural ecosystem, biodiversity, and the climate. The Philippines is one of the most severely deforested country in the world, around the tropics. In addition, natural habitat is very beneficial to animals as deforestation goes, and while deeper trees of the forest that provide shelter for some species also provide the canopy that regulates temperature. Deforestation results in a more drastic temperature variation from day to night, much like a desert, which could prove fatal for many inhabitants. The other one is climate change. As agriculture industry are highly dependent to the climate increases in temperature and carbon dioxide can increase some crop yield in some places, but to realize these benefits, not nutrients levels, soil moisture, water availability, and other commodities or condition must also be met. More extreme temperature and precipitation can prevent crops from being disseminated or being destroyed. This cornfield in Remigio, Cebu is just one of many fields damaged by extreme heat brought by El Nino. The Philippines Department of Agriculture estimated that around 182,000 farmers have been affected by the drought. A farmer from the town of Tombongon, San Remigio in Cebu shows this season poor corn harvest, while over 50% of farmers in the Philippines plant rice, 38% plants corn, and another 8% plant high-value crops such as an herb ng eggplant, squash, and tomato. On 11 on November 11, 2020, the unexpected typhoon Ulysses launched at the main island and dumping heavy rainfall that triggered massive flooding in several areas including Region 2, Cagayan Valley, which was one of the most severely affected. Flooded crops can be developmentally delayed and unavailable to achieve canopy closure, critical for crops to outcompete weeds and achieve high yields farmer for many use. This may be one of the most severe damage that can happen to our agricultural industry because Cagayan needs to provide much even more rice, and Cagayan is one of the most area which is transformed into agricultural industry, and the other one is urbanization. The process of urbanization resulted in substantial land conversion, which in turn led to drastic decrease in crop production areas and changed the agricultural landscape of the metropolitan Manila area. It also placed pressure on urban fringe, making land use conversation inevitable in cities. Findings point to the need for concomitant policies to preserve agricultural lands and sustain domestic food production and promote urban culture to recreate and preserve the green and open spaces in the cities. Over the last 20 years, the level of urbanization in the Philippines has stabilized, but the tempo has decreased, which implies a higher growth rate in the rural population than in the urban population. This influence the urbanization is seen in terms of declining shares of agriculture in the national economy and minimal reduction in employment in the agricultural sector. Urbanization greatly affect the agricultural industry because some of the crops were being destroyed and being transformed into subdivisions and many more. Urbanization has resulted in decreases in the area and fragmentation of farm parcels as well as in the conversion of agricultural lands to urban use. And that will be all. Always remember, stay safe, stay healthy, stay dry, and do not forget to smile. Thank you.